That's true. But you can't look bored during the speeches. Take a picture. So we're going to make so many faces when you talk, Mark.
Rabbit ears.
Actually, we're going to do like running comments.
Please have a seat. Good afternoon and welcome. On behalf of the faculty and administration, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our Senior Day ceremony, where we recognize and celebrate those students receiving their professional degrees from the University of Michigan Law School. Graduating students, today is your day, but I think it is important for us to recognize, before you, the people who are here today who helped you and with whom you are sharing this experience. Of course, some of you did this entirely on your own, and perhaps you even did it against the wishes of the people in this audience. But for the most part, graduates, you had some support in some form. So let's take a moment to ask those who are not wearing caps and gowns to stand so that we can acknowledge you and your contribution to their success. And now, graduating students, the focus is on you. As graduates, you will join a community of 22,000 alumni who define this institution every day. We expect great things from you, and today we honor you. This class, the class of 2019, is full of enormously talented people. I would like to recognize 8 students who, even in this extraordinary class, have distinguished themselves such that they have been awarded the law school's highest honors. After I speak about each of the winners of an award, I will ask them to stand so that you can give them some well-deserved applause. First, it is my pleasure to recognize our recipients of the Irving Stenn Jr. Award. The Stenn Award recognizes leadership and contributions through extracurricular activities to the strength of the law school community. Our first recipient of the Stenn Award, and remember the rules about the applause, is Kristen Fraley. There's lots of instructions today. The first recipient of the Stenn Award is Kristen Fraley. Kristen has been described as someone whose extracurricular leadership has both supported and strengthened the law school's culture. She was the managing editor of the Michigan Law Review, the rules chair of the Henry N. Campbell Moot Court Competition, president of the Law School Student Senate, a student-funded fellowships board member, and a volunteer for the Family Law Project and Voting Rights Initiative. She served as a student attorney in the juvenile justice and unemployment insurance clinics, and also worked in the university's Office of General Counsel. Following graduation, Kristen will work for Williams & Connolly in Washington, D.C. Now, I won't ask Kristen to stand just yet. Our second Stenn recipient is Joshua Goldman. During his time in law school, Josh has served in various leadership capacities of our LGBTQ student organization, The Outlaws, including as its co-chair and pro bono chair. He also worked to reshape the Outlaws Public Service Fellowship, of which he is a former recipient. Following law school, Josh will work at Devovois and Plimpton in New York City. The third recipient of the Stenn Award is Carolina Velarde. Carolina has been a notes editor of the Michigan Law Review, president of the Latino Law Students Association and co-chair of its Mr. Wolverine Planning Committee, a member of the NANIS 3L Challenge Committee, a member and mentor of the First Generation Law School Students Group, and a senior judge for the Legal Practice Program. She also was a student attorney in the Michigan Innocence Clinic during her second and third years and her 2L summer. In 2019, she was a key part of the team that achieved the exoneration of their client, who served more than 15 years in prison for a double murder he did not commit. After graduation, Carolina will work for Weil Gotshal in Washington, D.C. And now, Kristen, Josh, and Carolina, please stand and accept our congratulations. And now for the recipients of the Jane L. Mixer Memorial Award who are with us today. The Mixer Award is presented to the students who have made the greatest contributions to activities designed to advance the cause of social justice. The first recipient of the Mixer Award is Allison Horwitz. Allie participated in the Michigan Access Program, M-Defenders, the Michigan Immigrant and Labor Law Association, Street Law, and Legal Alternative Winter Breaks. She also was the curriculum editor for the Michigan Journal of Race and Law, a position through which she worked with Detroit Justice Center to establish a pro bono court-watching program for social justice-inclined students. Together with fellow graduating student Akash Patel, Allie also worked on issues of faculty diversity and educational environment. In the words of one nominator, Allie spreads her talents and energy across the wide swath of social justice leaders in the law school and the broader community with an intrepid spirit. After graduation, Allie will work for New Hampshire Public Defender in Concord. Our second Mixer recipient is Kara Nassif. Kara is a dual degree and public policy student, law and public policy student who has served as the co-director of our International Refugee Assistance Project chapter, as co-director of the Organization of Public Interest Students, as a member of Impoverty Lawyers, and a participant in Lawbreaks trips to Belize and Dilley, Texas. She also was a student attorney in the Unemployment Insurance and Human Trafficking Clinics, managing symposium editor of the Michigan Journal of Law Reform, and a managing editor of reflaw.org, an online forum offering critical analysis on important new cases, legislation, and emerging issues in refugee law. Following graduation, Kara will have a 6-month fellowship at the AARP Foundation in Washington, D.C., and then clerk for the Honorable Ramon Reyes Jr. at the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York for the term beginning in fall 2020. And now, Ali and Kara, please stand and accept our congratulations. Finally, I am proud to introduce the winners of the Henry M. Bates Memorial Scholarship Award. Bates recipients are outstanding graduating students with high achievement and well-rounded character. Our first Bates recipient I will talk about is Emily Minton Matson. According to one nominator, a faculty member, Emily intellectually and personally ranks with the very best students I've taught in 30-ish years. She is, quote, smart as hell, chock full of integrity, always eager to raise her game, and happy when she's helping other students raise theirs. The professor continued, I knew that when I called on her, whether she'd raised her hand or not, that's how it works, I'd get excellent answers, thoughtful, on point, responsive to the ongoing thread of discussion. She is just blazingly intelligent, a rare talent, and a rare gem of a human being. Following law school, Emily will join Williams and Connolly in Washington, D.C. Our second Bates recipient is Jonathan Tietz. He may be the most talented student I've taught, said one faculty member. He's really, really smart, said another, who then continued, but that is kind of the compliment in law school. He continued, you know how it is in a class if you're lucky. Whenever there's a knotty issue, there's one student you can turn to get a good answer. That's Jonathan. He's incredibly, yes, smart, thoughtful, and a very hard worker. He's also funny, kind, helpful, and easy to be around. He's done a lot at Michigan, including serving as executive editor of the Michigan Law Review, senior judge, and president of the Intellectual Property Student Association, and I very much hope to persuade him to become an academic, but whether he turns out to be a splendid lawyer or a splendid professor, he will be terrific. He will join Foley and Lardner in Washington, D.C. this fall. And the third and final Bates recipient is Ashley Ewell. One faculty nominator said, Ashley was an incredible classroom participant and did extremely well. She is smart, hardworking, and cares immensely about others and the law school community. Ashley served as board chair of the first-year information program, was notes editor of the Michigan Journal of Environmental Administrative Law, a 1L tutor in our peer tutoring program, a member and 1L mentor in the Organization of Public Interest Students, a student attorney with the Michigan Refugee Assistance Project, and a tour guide for the law school's admissions office. She also worked during her 1L summer and second and third years as a student attorney in the Michigan Innocence Clinic. The faculty's members of the clinic have this to say about her: Ashley is the rare, gifted, and dedicated student who makes contributions well beyond her years. Ashley will clerk for the Honorable Bridget McCormick, Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, after graduation, and then hopes to work as an appellate public defender here in Michigan. And now, Emily, Jonathan, and Ashley, please stand and accept our congratulations. In addition to the winners of the Bates, Mixer, and Stenn Awards, many other awards are listed in our program. Please join me in congratulating all of our award winners. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Megan Brown, who was chosen by her classmates. That's why she was chosen by her classmates to give remarks on their behalf today. Megan spent her early life in Ann Arbor, and her family moved to Atlanta when she was 11. She returned to Ann Arbor for her undergraduate studies and received her bachelor's degree in neuroscience at the University of Michigan in 2015. During her time in law school, Megan has served on the Michigan Law Review, first as an associate editor, and then as its first African-American editor-in-chief. She chaired the 1L oral advocacy competition and was a volunteer for the Civil Rights Clearinghouse. She also was a member of a number of student organizations, including our student a cappella singing group, the Headnotes, and the law school band, T.J. Hooper and the Learned Hands. Following graduation, Megan will work as an associate at Latham & Watkins in Chicago with a focus on patent litigation. In 2020, she will clerk for the Honorable Patricia Millett of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. And in 2021, she will clerk for the Honorable Lucy Coe of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. But those things don't quite capture what makes Megan special. Megan's friends repeat 3 certain themes about her. Theme 1, Megan is the most high-achieving person they've ever met. Theme 2, she is shockingly normal and personable, especially considering how talented and accomplished she is. Theme 3, she is incredibly intelligent and also thoughtful and caring and has incredibly varied interests and talents. And it is these interests and talents on which I would like to focus. I know a little bit about them already. My last conversation with Megan made me late for my next meeting because I was attempting to fully digest the interstices of her theory regarding how Magic Mike began the Matthew McConaughey Renaissance. She enjoys Marvel movies, Lord of the Rings books, and video games. She knows all the original Pokemon characters and their various characteristics. She religiously watches RuPaul shows with her headphones on, which are always on her shoulders. She's known for belting out power ballads, whether singing at law prom or rocking out to a 90s boy band song at Blue Lap Karaoke. She can beatbox. She is a Scotch lover and believes in moon signs. She delivers hand-drawn and colored cards and goodie bags for friends when they are sick. Instead of doodling in class, she edits the casebook. Hey, Megan, here's a direct quote from one of your friends. Megan jots down any words that professors use that are big and fancy, and she'll somehow incorporate them into her own vocabulary. For example, she went through a phase where she'd say, apropos of nothing, or a priori every opportunity she got, even in our random conversations. Like, so I'm still quoting, like, I was literally just trying to have a normal person conversation with her about how cute my dog is, and she busts out words like that. Speaking of dogs, Megan constantly reminds us that she used to work in a vet's office. Not that I need any reminding that she worked in a vet's office, since she graciously brushes my dog's teeth for me every few nights because she's an expert at it. So class, families, friends, I worked hard to find details about Megan that would cause you to question her superpowers. So here are her weaknesses. She reportedly is terrible at household chores and doesn't like vegetables. That's all I have. Please join me in welcoming our 2019 Senior Day speaker, Megan Brown.
Here are some things I heard when I told people I was applying to law school. First, are you sure you want to go to law school? It's not fun and it's a ton of work. That was told to me by the professor who wrote my letter of recommendation to this place. Here's another one. My friend got into law school and he had to drop out. That was a nosy waiter at the Cheesecake Factory. Also, before law school, I heard that it was boring and stuffy. That was an Uber driver. Suffice it to say that when I got to school here, I had some negative expectations. And to be fair to those people, they were not all wrong. Law school is a ton of work, especially when you're somehow placed into the one and only supersection that has contracts 4 times a week at the earliest time slot possible. Law school can be not fun when you're reading about the background to McCulloch versus Maryland and you realize that the only things you're retaining are things you learned by listening to the Hamilton soundtrack. True story. And I did want to drop out more than once, like when exams rolled around for the first time and all my classmates were talking about something called outlining, and I didn't know what that was, or frankly, like 2 days ago when I did not know how I was going to get all my papers and exams done before today. But here's the thing that my undergrad professor, my waiter, my Uber driver all missed. They were talking about the tasks of law school, and they forgot to mention the people. And they particularly forgot to mention the people at Michigan Law School. And I want to tell you about those people, but the best way for me to do that is to talk about one of the hardest days I had here at Michigan. Our first year, a stranger to the Michigan community vandalized the Black Law Students Association's bulletin board. This was after racist flyers demonizing black men and denigrating mixed-race students had been appearing for months in random places around campus starting in early 2016. But this vandalism, it was the first time this kind of explicit racism had physically manifested itself inside the law school, at least since I had been here. And it was right before second semester exams, which is a stressful time in and of itself. I was coming up from the basement of our library, and I saw a few of my upperclassmen friends standing around our bulletin board. Pictures of us were crumpled on the ground, or ripped, or thrown in the trash. All at the same time, I was defeated and heartbroken. I didn't want to be at the school anymore. I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to learn and uphold the laws of this country when I knew people out there who didn't know me hated me and wanted to terrify me, when all I was doing was going to school and trying my hardest every day. But even that first night, I started to feel better. The Black law student community sat in the basement of Hutchins Hall and studied together. Being with some of my oldest friends at law school, listening to Rashid Stewart talk about how he was going to organize us to fight back, listening to Victoria Allen raise our morale by saying the most profane and cutting, yet totally vindicating things about the person who had vandalized our board. It felt like things wouldn't be so bad. Our little community was stronger than the person who had tried to ostracize us. And then the next day, things got even better. I saw my professors, the ones who were about to grade my exams and the ones who had guided me through my first semester, sitting on the floor in front of our board in the basement of Hutchins Hall, guarding it so we Black students felt like we could go back to work. At the same time, Carolina Velarde, who had just become president of the Latino Law Students Association, showed me a sign she was about to put on their bulletin board. YASA stands with Balsa. In that moment, I started to feel like the entire Michigan community was there for me. Not just the people I personally knew, not just my friends, but everybody. And by the end of the week, every single student organization had posted a sign of solidarity on their own bulletin board. Everyone in this community rejected an action meant to make me and my friends feel like we did not belong here. And just like that, a moment that could have left a stain on how I feel about the legal community became a show of humanity and empathy that I will never, ever forget. When the world around us acted with cruelty, this community rose above it and acted with empathy. But the kindness that the people of this institution have shown us didn't end with a response to an isolated act of violence. We had professors who mentored us and pushed us and taught us to believe in ourselves. We had alumni who answered our questions and made calls for us and got us jobs. But mostly, we had each other. Kaylee Hannenkrat hand-delivered fancy tea to my Lawyers Club room the first time I got sick here. Dave Imhoff taught me game theory when I just did not know what was going on in our torts class. Gabby Heibel organized a meal train for me. And one by one, my classmates were right there for me when I needed them the absolute most, when I thought I could not do this without them. Every day, we stepped up for each other. We were friends to each other. We sustained each other. Some of us even fell in love with each other and are going to get married to each other. In a place that was challenging and sometimes not very fun. In a place we sometimes maybe even wanted to drop out of. In law school, where all the incentives direct students towards insularity and selfishness and competition, kindness and generosity are incredible demonstrations of strength. And I think that realization is the most important thing I learned in law school. That when I could have quit, I didn't. Not just because of my own determination, but also, critically, because people were kind to me, people believed in me, and people welcomed me into this community. Inclusion and compassion, as much as all the legal principles I've learned, are what I'm going to take with me out there into a harsher world. So in the end, law school was much more than just difficult. I don't fault my old professor or my Uber driver for not knowing that. My professor, he went to a different place with different people. He didn't know that law school could be fun, that it could be a place where you learn generosity, that it could be a place where you make lifelong friends. He couldn't have known or believed that law school could make someone a better person, one who could make the world more tolerant. But I think, at least when it comes to law schools, I think that's something you can only learn by coming here to this law school, to Michigan. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Megan. It's now my great honor and pleasure to introduce Michelle Coleman Mays. Michelle Coleman Mays was born in Los Angeles and moved to Detroit as a child. When she was 11 years old, she announced that she was going to be a lawyer. She graduated from Mackenzie High School in Detroit and credits Perry Mason's success, the fact that he never lost a case, for her interest in the law. Michelle is a double Wolverine, having received her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Michigan in 1971 and her law degree from this law school in 1974. Following law school, Michelle taught as an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science at Illinois State University for 2 years, and then as an adjunct professor of civil trial advocacy at Wayne State University Law School in Detroit. She left the academy to join the U.S. Department of Justice as an assistant United States attorney, where she worked in both Detroit and Brooklyn. rising to chief of the Civil Division in Detroit. Between the two offices, she worked for 5 different United States attorneys. Michelle then spent 30 years in-house, including as general counsel for Allstate Corporation and Pitney Bowes, Inc. She held leadership positions at Colgate-Palmolive Company and Unisys Corporation. In 2012, she made her most recent career move and now serves as the Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of the New York Public Library, the largest library system in the country. In 2012, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Lawyer. In 2014, she became chair of the Commission on Women in the Profession of the American Bar Association, and in 2013-14, she served on the Presidential Commission on Election Administration. Michelle is a recipient of the American Bar Association's Margaret Brent Award, Minority Corporate Counsel Association's Trailblazer Award, and has been named one of America's top black lawyers by Black Enterprise magazine, among many others. She also is co-author of the book Courageous Counsel, which includes in-depth interviews with more than 50 women who have served as general counsel or have played executive management roles in their legal departments. Michelle, I did not go to your friends to dig up stories about you or your hidden talents. I only do that to students. But what I can tell our audience here today, though they'll know it in about 15 seconds, is that you're brilliant, funny, and perhaps most importantly to those of us in this room and on this stage, uncompromisingly authentic. And I had the privilege of watching you in the robing room be approached by Professor Chris Whitman, who was also in your class, to talk about the times that you shared together. And I don't know what happened, but I did hear Chris thank you for something kind you did back then, because that's the kind of place this is, and that's the kind of thing you all will be talking about when you are commencement speaker. For now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce and to welcome home Michelle Coleman-Mays.
So let me get it out of the way. Megan, when I grow up, I'm going to be like you. So I'll just friend you on Facebook, all right? So congratulations. You've reached a heck of a milestone. And I was pretty surprised when I got the phone call from your good dean asking if I would be the commencement speaker. And the reason I was so stunned is that 5 years earlier, I had interviewed him. And during the course of this interview, he got this very puzzled look on his face. And he said, I thought this was going to be a little easier. And so I was thoroughly convinced that I was on his do not contact ever list. And I proved to be wrong. So when you walk out of this building, you will shed the label of student, and you will become attorney or some other profession, another label. But what I want to encourage you to do is not shed the skills that you've honed as a student. I'm talking about being inquisitive, challenging, being skeptical, being willing to ask worthwhile questions even when they're not easy questions, and getting the answers. I want you to become curators of information, and you might ask, well, why am I concerned about that? Well, probably because you're all sitting here with smartphones in your pocket and maybe in your hands. And you check them all the time, and what I will tell you, it comes down to what I believe needs to be done, which is check your baggage. Now you might ask, you mean the luggage that I'm going to give to the airlines and pray that it gets to my destination? No, I'm talking about a metaphor, which is examine your mindset. And why would I be concerned about your mindset as you go out into this brave and brash world that, as Megan said, may be a little harsh? Well, my hope is that you don't make it any harsher. So what do I mean by that? Well, most of us are sitting here, if we're still breathing, and that's a good thing, with what everyone calls implicit bias. And yes, it is the way most of us get through the day. It's the way we make decisions, but it's decisions without knowing. Much like the description you heard from Megan, people that don't know her had demonized her. I would argue it's that implicit bias. And as a black woman, you can imagine that while I'm not immune to it, I have a little bit of radar when it comes to detecting it. Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt says, bias operates underneath our awareness, and it is difficult to control. She goes on to say that you don't have to have a moral failing in order to act on implicit bias. And so we come up with ways to filter, scan, to in some way catalog and label all the information that comes at us 24/7. And we do it instinctively. But labels are powerful things. They are both vague and very specific. I'm talking about calling somebody old, a millennial, a Generation Z, conservative, a Republican, you know the list goes on. And what it says is, I know everything I need to know about you. But let me not get carried away. I don't mean to imply by these remarks that you shouldn't label. I would hate for you to get up every day with mental amnesia. That would be exhausting. Although there are some days when I would like a do-over. And so it is the way we function as human beings. And so you might say, well then, what's the problem? Well, my answer to that is just acknowledging that implicit bias seeps through all of us, courses through all of those connections, is to say, well, are you admiring the problem? Because that would be a shame. So when I talk about the fact that labels can be healthy, I have to share this story with you. I'm running down the street in New York, because that's what New Yorkers do, and the tourists are in the way. And so I was rushing, and I did see this man sprawled on the sidewalk, and I made sure that I made a bigger arc around him, I guarantee you, and I did it instinctively. And then he called out. He said, "Ma'am, would you help me, please?" And so I actually put on my brakes. He said, "I need you to call an ambulance." And then I realized as I was dialing and the operator came on, that how was I going to describe this man? Because I realized in my brain I had called him a homeless alcoholic. And so instead I said, "Well, ma'am, there's this gentleman here, and apparently he's intoxicated." And he stopped me and said, "Lady, it ain't no apparently, I'm drunk." I didn't need to check that label, he'd earned it. But there are other times when it can lead you astray. So I was in Minneapolis last year, and I heard this story, and I thought, surely truth is stranger than fiction. This young woman stands up to ask me a question, but she wants me to understand the incident that leads up to the question, and this is what she shared. A general counsel, black woman of a large company, invites a law firm in. The law firm is going to pitch to her so that it can get business, and they arrange the meeting in the conference room. She enters the conference room with her coffee, and the partner takes the coffee and drinks from it. Now, I wish I could tell you this happened 2 years ago, because maybe 15 years ago, even 20, because I'd feel a lot better. But this was recent, because his bias was playing out. He could only see a black woman as the help. That's how it can lead you astray. But I'm not immune to bias, as I've said to you, so I'm in Nigeria. And I decided to go to Nigeria because we had purchased this company there, and it had an employee stock ownership program. And the only reason the shareholders that were employees came to the annual meeting was to get their checks. This is before Apple Pay. And so they would show up to get their checks so they could go off and spend it for various reasons. And my company wanted to explain to the shareholders that the first time in the history of the company there would be no checks. And so I said, this is not going to go over well. So I get to Nigeria. I'm sitting in this sweltering room. It is becoming more and more crowded, and I had decided to sit with the employees because I wanted to hear what they had to say. And as it got more and more tense, I had this vision of the Wizard of Oz that said, "Dorothy, you are no longer in Kansas." But I felt this man peering at me, and I could feel his eyes, and I thought, he is going to strangle me, and he's going to enjoy it. And so finally he says, "Ma'am, I'm sorry." And I paused, because I said, what the heck is this man sorry about? That I came here from New York, and I'm sorry that I'm sitting next to him. So I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Well, I'm very sorry that our ancestors sold your ancestors into slavery." And I thought to myself, and you don't know how fast I'm glad to get back where we went, because I couldn't see him as being empathetic. My bias was he was hostile, and that he had nothing to say to me that would have been called kind. But that was my judgment of him. I did not know him. So what was one to do, since, look, we've all got bias, big deal? Well, I'm going to ask you to call on Sal. Now, Sal is my acronym, but it'll help you remember what I'm going to tell you. So what does it stand for? Slow down. Ask questions and listen. Speed is one of the principal enablers of bias. And when I tell lawyers to listen, that's a real challenge. Oh yeah, even though you don't have that license yet, you know exactly. Because you know what you sell are your ideas. You go out and say, "I want to impress you with the depth of my knowledge. And I want to tell you about my grand reputation. And I want to explain to you why you have selected the right lawyer. Have a seat." And so we are very comfortable having one-way conversations, and we don't even notice it. A few months ago, a young woman comes into my office after I'm told that she's had an unpleasant experience. She said that one of our key partners had treated her in a way that she found untenable, that she thought she had been sexually harassed, kind of a loaded terminology. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, my bias kicked in, I'm gonna admit it now. Okay, here comes a millennial. She's entitled. She wants to be coddled. She just got hired and is asking, when does a promotion come? What am I to do with her? And instead, as my friend wrote, with regard to millennials, you raised them, now work with them. And so I could feel the bias just ebbing in. And so I called on Sal. I paused, I asked questions, and I listened. And as I heard this woman recount the encounter with this gentleman, I said, you know, I'm not sure how we're going to solve this, but let me keep asking you questions. And during the course of being willing to problem solve by asking questions, we came up with something that she said, I can live with that. And I call it the teachable moment. She said, I will be fine if you call up his employer, explain what the incident was, and I had it very well described by her, and ask that this man simply treat me as a professional and others like me. I said, that is what I will do. So what have I been saying to you this afternoon? I know you may be enamored with driverless cars, but don't have a driverless mind. I'm asking you to work at it. We talked about work at the beginning because you worked to get here. I'm telling you to keep working. And Martin Luther King, I think, said it best. He said, and one of the great liabilities of life is that all too many people find themselves living amid a period of great social change, and yet they fail to develop the new attitudes, the new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through a revolution. So in a shorthanded way, I think Dr. Martin Luther King, to use your jargon, was saying, stay woke. Stay woke. And so this is what I would say to you. Check your baggage. Don't do it only because you were a student at this grand university. Do it because you want to have a more fulfilling life. That's the reason you do it. And so as you go out on your journey and continue, I wish you a rewarding journey. But take Sal with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. The law school head notes will now sing to celebrate the graduating class. As they make their way up, I will tell you what they will sing. They will begin with the yellow and blue, which is, of course, the alma mater, perhaps known to some of you as Michigan has another song besides Hail to the Victors. During the alma mater, we will all stand. It is compulsory. The head notes will then sing the victors. During the victors, I encourage you to remain standing. It is not compulsory, as it is with the alma mater, but it makes the experience more fun. You see, when we get to the chorus, I think it's the second time or so, the head notes will clap and pump their fist in the air at the appropriate hails. I will join them. You may do as you see fit. I will remind you, you are in Ann Arbor. Please stand then for the singing of the alma mater, followed by the victors. Thank you, head notes. I told you there would be lots of rules, but graduates, now it is your turn. It's your turn to negotiate the obstacle course that we have created upon this stage to celebrate, honor, and perhaps embarrass you. Your names will be read, and then you will ascend along this path and receive your hood. You will be introduced and hooded by one of the following: Professors Maureen Carroll, Margaret Hannon, and David Ullman, or Deans Teresa Kaiser Jarvis and Sarah C. Zierfoss. Your hooder will give you a nudge when your hood is in place, more or less, and then you're going to walk across the stage to meet me right in front of this podium. Here is what you and I will then do, and now you really need to pay attention. We will shake hands. We will stand side by side facing the camera. We will smile. Finally, you will walk to the other side of the stage and receive your certificate of membership in the Lawyers Club from Assistant Dean for Student Life, Byrex Marti, and Associate Director of Student Services, Viviana Hernandez. You heard correctly, they will not hand you your diploma. What they will hand you is your certificate of Lawyers Club membership. We are so fortunate to have a beautiful Lawyers Club surrounding the Quad with all of its tradition and history, for if we did not have such a structure, we would have nothing interesting to give you today. But your actual diploma will arrive soon enough, as soon as we're done grading the exams. For most of you, it will be the last diploma you will receive, so this is a special moment. But if you happen to trip a little, or your name is mispronounced despite the reader's best efforts, or a handshake is particularly awkward, that's okay. We will remember you either way. Our graduates will proceed as follows: the JD students, then the LLM students, then the International Tax LLM students, and finally our SJD student. Now, as each member of the graduating class comes forward, please feel free to cheer, and I mean that. There's been lots of rules, but you really should cheer. There is a member of our faculty who thinks that we do not have a sufficient amount of shenanigans in this law school. I disagree with that, but if there is a time for shenanigans, it might be now. So graduates and family and friends, there's two different rules. Graduates, don't go overboard. I'm sure one of you really wants to shout out, "That's my boy," or some nonsense about one of your classmates. This is still law school, so ask yourself if that's how you would like to be remembered. Families and friends, I sat right up there 3 years ago when my daughter graduated from this university, and I politely clapped. I wish now I had not felt so constrained, and I hope that you will not feel so. You can celebrate. Please do so with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. Graduates, shall we?
Nadine Hassan Abdallah. Devin Abney. Michael Abrams. Daniel Ryan Ackerman. Victoria Ann Allen. Megan Anderson. Ashlyn Angel. Eric Adrian Ashby II. Rana Ayazi. Kira Beg. Callie Marie Barr. Christopher Barnes. Michael P.K.D. Batten. Sophie Dillard Baum. Emily Susan Paradise Baxter.
Allison Ann Beasley. Michael Allen Beach. Alexander A. Bellica. Dale Ann Belito. Stephanie Ann Benjamini. David Berg. Odell Bet-Yonan. Matthew Daniel Binder. Morgan Burke. Kimberly Crystal Blake. Mark Blanton. Michael Block. Thomas Burnoff. Monica Marie Browner. Tsai Yitien. Joan Marie Campo. Jacob Roman Cardinal. Olivia E. Cares. Miguel H. Castro Morales. Hunter Gustin Chamberlain. Angela E. Ray Chen. William G. Chorba. Erica Christensen. Brandon Ciciotti. Jackson Colton. Ben Cornelius. Patrick Mason Cawthorn. Adam Cusick. Islan R. Daldal. Hunter Catherine Davis. Yana DeMoyer. Abigail DeHart. Ariana Marie Demas. Brandy Martina Dobbs. Nina Dutta. Claire Olivia Eaton. Erin Marie Edgerton. Kelly Ehrenreich. Ingrid Eicher. Erin Emery. Gail Lomotele Engman. Dominic Farshoni III.
Timothy Featherson. Kelly Auburn IV. Shanine Michelle Frederick. Perry Elise Friedlander. Kristen Fraley. Adam Gherkin. Mitchell David Gilburn. Megan Renee Giles. Elliot Benzo Gluck. Joshua Michael Goldman. Kimberly A. Gaucher. David M. Graham. Michael J. Grega. Thaddeus J. Gregory. Elizabeth Greiter. Sarah Grunberger. Julie Danae Gullidge. Anna Nettie Hall. Aviv Halpern. Caitlin Marie Harrington. Nicholas Hazen. Elizabeth Ann Heisey. John Carl Heisey. Cleo Hernandez. Allie Horwitz. Blair Marshall Hotz II. Caroline Howe. David Howe. Chipeng Hu. Gabriella Marissa Heibel. Susanna D. Isles. David Imhoff. Jacob Itzkowitz. Maya Knigstein Jacob. Robert Anthony Jacobson. Timey Jacobson. Hillary John. Evan Raymond Johnson. Trevor Michael Jorgensen. Taryn Allison Joswig. Mahalia Krista Kasai. Jonathan Kama. Patrick M. Kennedy. Amanda Noel Kenner. Kevin Lee Kenny. Emily Jean Kim. MJ Min Hung Koo. Alexander Thomas Craig. Drew S. Kramer. Irma Kroneman. Thomas Lavoy. Allison Rachel Lasher. Justin Loria Banta. Abigail Lawson. Bothwell Graves Lee, Jr. Brett Leininger. Brandon F. Lev. Joshua M. Levasser. Aaron Lichty.
Erica Lignell. Jacob Lipnick. Hallie Sarah Lipsy. Stand like right there. Peter Liu. Max Lubin. Ross McPherson. Danielle Alexis Maldonado. Ryan Michael Morosi. Patrick G. Maroon. Taya Marriott Bratt. Dan Mathis III. Matthew J. McCarthy. Meredith Dyer McPhail. Rachel Ann Menashe. Sarah Ann Mesra. Julie Mahalski. Lucas Minnick. Emily Minton Matson. M. Devin Moore. Weya Mu. Nasser Mala. Ethan Munsell. Amelia Elizabeth Murray. Kara Ariel Nassif. Thuong Michelle Non. Ying Chun Ni. Eric Nicholson. Oh, wait. Gotta wait. You don't have it. Alexandra Barker Knoll. Jeff Nwagbo. Coral D. O'Connor. Jamila A. Oda. Jacqueline Petzold. June Ha Park. Trevor N. Parks. Luis Miguel Parrado. Akash Patel. Melissa Pena. Jose Peralta. Michael Perriott. Nicholas L. Perry. Marina Rose Pino. Jacob Plotnick. Christopher Jeffrey Pollock. Simone Prince Eichner. Blake Purdy. Aaron M. Randall. William Brady Randall. Anna Garber Rasmussen. Stephen M. Reese. Morgan K. Restano. Derek Rushi. Eva Richardson. Jessica Lynn Riley. Reza Rogani Esfahani. Andre Paul Roulard. Hannah Devra Rubashkin. Danny Ruiz.
Megan Ryan. Macaulay Keith Rybar. Ian Marshall Sander. Gianluca Scaglione. David Shetzley. Rachel Lee Shlobome. William Curry Schoaf. Christopher Ryan Schwartz. Kenneth Edward Sexauer. Sarah Catherine Shea. Andrea Marie Sinley. Jonathan Donald Slack. David Smelly. Kyle David Smith. Lauren Smith. Lane Smith. Michael Smith. Colleen Smythe. Grant Saville Snyder. Jae Myung San. Charles Sorge. Arthur Souza Rodriguez. Megan Elizabeth Stam. Thomas J. Standifer. Sarah Marie Stappert. Rashid Stewart. Adam Wesley Strayer. Micah Isidore Telligan. Jens Nurnberger Thompson. Casey Thompson. Jonathan Teets. Neil Tawari. Hin D. Tran. Edna Ture. Adrian Forrest Valens. Emily Van Dam. Carolina Isabel Velarde Borisov. Alex Walling. Amanda Rose Wanty. Brandon Michael Warrington. Virginia Weeks. Andrew Weiner. Sage Wen. Luke Wilson. Marcus Tyler Winnick. Jeremy Paisner Wolf. Dustin Womack. Brian Yang. David Yang. William Yao. Ji Young Gina Yoon. Gregory Young. Ashley Laura Ewell. Xinming Zhang. Han Ju.
Yasmin Alamin. Julianne Alberto. Destiny N. Andrews. Raphaël Beauregard Lacroix. Shrutanjai Bardwaj. Shreya Bose. Wen Che. Gianluca D'Arena. Danielle de Oliveira Nunes. Camila Giannini. Min Kun Kanjana Siroa. Takahito Kawahala. Asad Ullah Khan. Florian Alexander Kroll. Yuqin Lian. Sorry. Yanlin Liu. Dario Maestro. Alfred Anozi Momodou. Takanori Nagajima. Chiaki Nojiri. Sonali Pereira. Davor Petric. Nadia Sanchez. Francisca Surumânio Asciêncio. João Surumânio Asciêncio. Sebastian Spitra. Robert Siroka. Wen Su. Justin De Jesus Sukeng. Lazaros Triantafilidis. Chun Chuen Tsai. Hannah Van Dega. Ka Mon Chai Veti Burana. Ling Ma Wang. Congrats. Yen So Tsai. Megan Lucille Brown.
On behalf of all of us, congratulations. I present to you the JD, LLM, and SJD members of the 2019 graduating class of the University of Michigan Law School. So we're not quite finished. In an attempt to mitigate chaos, I have more instructions about how we leave. The stage party leaves first. The graduates will follow us out. During the recessional of graduates, please remain in your seats until the graduates have left the auditorium. Now, graduates, you will proceed quickly to the front steps of Hill for a photograph. So guests, this photograph can create a logjam, so please use the side exits until after the photograph is taken. We will all meet up again in a few minutes outdoors, and my colleagues and I look forward to visiting with you at our reception in the Law Quad. Thank you all for joining us here today to honor this remarkable group of students, and congratulations again to the graduates and everyone who helped them accomplish their goals. Congratulations.